amplified pattern recognition.
Why does the universe exist?
We're about 5 Einsteins away from the answer.
Welcome to Think Tank. This is a podcast where in each episode we pick a topic and then we discuss it with industry professionals and thought leaders in that industry. I'm Josh Gonzalez.
And I'm Braeden Drew, and we're your hosts of Think Tank. This is episode 12 on virtual reality porn. In this episode, we talk to two founders of Holodexxx. Morgan is a seasoned AAA game developer, 3D modeler, and virtual reality entrepreneur. Craig is a tech artist who worked on AAA games and is now focusing on producing photorealistic digital humans for VR.
And here's some background info on Holodexxx. They're the world's first fully immersive and interactive sexual fantasy engine for virtual reality. Holodexxx is an interactive, real-time 3D experience that runs on the Unreal 4 game engine. It is completely immersive, interactive, and customizable, allowing for a unique experience every time you play. You decide how you'd like to engage with the avatars. They feature some of the biggest stars in the adult industry right now, including Riley Reid, Tori Black, Danny Daniels, Lexi Bell. And they also just partnered with V-Stroker, an interactive sex toy that allows players to control the game using a fleshlight. In this episode, we talk about the company's tech, philosophies, and processes, as well as their business model and how they see their company evolving. Let's get right into it. So why don't you guys just tell us a little bit about like what you've done in the industry before, maybe if it's unrelated in the technology, and like what you're doing now and like your positions in the company.
Sure thing. I'm Morgan Young. I'm one of the co-founders of Holodexxx. Got started ways back now in the gaming industry, working at a somewhat large studio. Ubisoft, might as well just get it out in the open. And met my partner Craig there working on some cool titles.
Yep, so I also worked at Ubisoft. Worked on Splinter Cell Blacklist and Far Cry 4. And met Morgan. And, we started kind of throwing the idea around about just VR and technology. All of a sudden, 3D scanning came up one day and we were both so taken by it. We managed to find our initial investor to give us money for 12 cameras, and we set that up in my living room. And, we started doing some tests, and they turned out to be awesome, like way better than we thought they possibly could be. And that's the same time we met everyone involved in like the VR community in Toronto, essentially. And from there, it just made sense to combine 3D scanning and VR and, witnessing 3D scans, especially of people in VR, it's so compelling that we knew we were onto something, and it snowballed from there.
When we realized, the potential of how realistic these 3D scans were and how amazing, it's going to be in VR, it just, naturally made sense that the adult industry was going to have a huge role to play in this as well. And no one was tackling it. Mm-hmm. No one was actually taking it seriously, at least from the perspective of game development. There's a lot of studios from the adult world that have dived headfirst into VR, but they're producing 360 sort of passive experiences.
Right, and that's not even really VR. I think that's more panoramic imaging and 360 video, not exactly VR.
Yeah. Like I feel like it has its place and it's interesting for what it is, but we wanted to approach this from the perspective of like AAA game developers. Like, how good can we make this thing if we really made an effort, And that being said, there's also like the other side. There are technically adult games out there. They're just frankly not that good. So, upon seeing that, we realized that, okay, if we come from this world, we know we can pull this thing out of the water. Let's do it. And here we are.
Maybe we should explain a bit about like the technology behind it.
Yeah,
for
totally.
people who don't know what we're talking about.
Exactly.
When we're referring to 3D scans. So we use a process called photogrammetry, which in a really like boiled down sense is just taking multiple photos of a subject or an object from every conceivable angle. Then we use a 3D stitching software to combine all these photos and stitch them into a like very realistic 3D model. The model itself is better than most AAA game developers can achieve in a game studio, the top character artists, but we're also getting 100% accurate texture information from all the photographs we take. So when you combine those in into the final product, you wind up with essentially like a clone, a digital double of whatever you just took hundreds of photos of.
That's amazing. Were you guys doing like the scanning in the game industry first? Is that like the part you guys were kind of like tackling?
Like day to day, I was an effects artist at Ubisoft. Actually,
Oh, okay. So you weren't even really doing scanning.
No,
there.
in fact, Ubisoft was one of like the first clients for our mainstream company. They weren't really doing it either. So that's, once we kind of discovered this technology, we're like, this is a game changer. This will be the way people do it.
Yeah, no kidding. I thought that's how it was done this whole time. Like, why would you spend weeks, months modeling something where it's like, okay, step in here, take the pictures, and we'll just stitch it together, and it's going to be way better than any artist can really do.
It's exponentially faster.
And then you can always mess with the models after in like Mudbox, whatever you guys use.
Yep.
ZBrush, all sorts of programs.
Anything,
you probably use
it's
like,
just like a
15 different software packages by the time we're said and done.
So it's like an FBX kind of file that just you can do anything with?
Yeah, we can deliver pretty much anything, usually OBJ or FBX.
Amazing.
And take it to ZBrush.
And how
sculpt
big are these files? Like, how much data are you producing with like this resolution? Like, how high is it?
For a full body scan, we wind up, with the raw, we call it a raw scan before any post treatment has been done to it. They come out of the scanner at like 5 million polys plus, extremely high texture resolutions, like 8 to 16K. Which is, again, unmanageable for a lot of real-time platforms or any. So, taking that and managing the data is like a big component of our day-to-day. A lot of games are starting to pick up on the technology, though. I think Star Wars used it in Battlefront.
Yeah, they did a lot of photogrammetry. A lot of their environments, they look super realistic. Like, they have amazing graphics overall, but a lot of it's due to these photogrammetric techniques they're using. It's really impressive, and it is the way the industry is starting to go, I think, for both characters especially, but also, environments too.
Yeah, it's really interesting just to see both sides of these technologies come up sort of in tandem. Like scanning is sort of climbing the ranks at the same time as VR is, and it's amazing. They're the perfect pair. They complement each other so well.
And then getting back to everything, like porn drives it all. Like gaming and porn, literally, you guys are on the two forefronts. Like drive the technology. So like, there's no way. Like,
there was like a light bulb that went off simultaneously above both our heads when we saw this like happening in front of our eyes.
You're like, hey, no, we have to just do it. We're at the right point in history. Screw it. Like, just it's got to happen.
Basically,
like,
And like, the stars kind of aligned too, because we found multiple people interested in kind of like funding our ideas.
That's amazing.
And we just ran with it. We knew that wasn't going to come around too often, so we had to jump at the chance.
Just do it.
And it means eventually quitting your job, but you know what? That's the risk we had to take, and we did, and we're glad we did. So.
Totally. So, like, what are you guys using to view it right now? I think I've seen some HTC Vive videos on your social media accounts. Is that mainly what you use to interact with the characters?
We're trying to prepare Holodexxx for as many devices as possible. Currently, we're working on the newest demo. It'll be 2D. It'll be for the Rift. It'll be for the Vive.
We've had our scans running on a Samsung Gear as well, but that's not our target platform out of the gate. We sort of want to target the highest end PC experience just to see like how amazing this can be. Especially it makes sense when you're going after investment to showcase the product in the best possible light. But we're aware that mobile is probably going to be the biggest pusher of VR. So we're going to make sure we have a really strong presence on the mobile side.
Totally. Because I think Pornhub just recently got into it. But again, 360 video. So how does this differ? Like, how are people going to interact with this like totally differently than Pornhub's doing?
Well, we've made a lot of effort to do the game side really well. It's not 360 video. It's not a passive experience. It's immersive. It's interactive. It puts the user in a 3D environment with a 3D avatar in real time, where we give the user control and the ability to dictate the outcome of what kind of experience they want to have. And you can't do that with pre-recorded film. No matter how much you try, you can't customize a hair color, you can't swap out an outfit, you can't grow bodily attributes.
Whatever it is you
So I mean, we're at an advantage, I think, because we're coming at it from a different perspective and a different whole methodology.
And if it looks just as real, then like it's not like you have like these half-assed like really crappy 3D models, right? It's like, and it looks so ragged and weird. Like if you can cross that uncanny valley, then it's just like you've got it. That's like the A game. That's what people want.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an uphill battle to get there, but we feel like we're making a lot of progress, and that feeling of presence being in the environment with those characters is awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And have you guys looked into it all about like haptic feedback and what you guys are going to do in terms of that kind of realm?
So I'll tell you what we're working on right now. It's going to be the first release that we make for Holodexxx that we're going to charge money for. So it's our MVP right now. It's a contained experience featuring Riley Reid, who's one of the biggest stars in the industry right now. We're working on her avatar at the moment, and we've actually locked her in as a exclusive Holodexxx star, which we can talk about a bit more. We have an exclusivity agreement with all our stars. In short, the experience is a one-on-one interaction in a photoreal condominium with a photoreal avatar of Riley Reid. We've also teamed up with a hardware manufacturer. They make peripherals for the fleshlight, and
that's perfect. So is it like specifically like actually fleshlight, like the company, or is it just like a similar kind of product?
The company that we're working with right now, at least working with their technology, it's called the V-Stroker, and it just is a little device that screws on the end. I think
the technology's there. It doesn't need the brand.
Yeah. No,
exactly.
That makes more sense. Like, honestly, from like, I guess a user perspective, like this can sound weird. Like we're getting into the UX design of porn, but it's so important.
Yeah.
Especially if you guys are using the Vive and your hands are occupied.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have something.
Yeah, I think kind of like the rule of thumb for us is that it'll be like a one-handed experience. We keep throwing that phrase around, but it's true. So one hand in this case would be occupied by the fleshlight, and with the V-Stroker on the end, it actually measures or like the speed or the movement of the fleshlight, translates that into something we can use in the game. So in this case, it'll probably drive things like animation speeds. We've got some ideas. So essentially, that'll be like one of the forms of control is actually moving the fleshlight around. It's going to get beyond that soon. So you'll have literally like sex device input devices, controllers, and
ridiculous.
It's close to get to like a robot sex doll, I think.
Yeah, I think that would happen first, like the VR side, way before like the robot stuff. Like,
Yeah, there's still the challenge of solving this problem being the uncanny valley. I think that's more immediate than convincing sex robots at the moment. Although I'm open-minded.
Have you guys overcome the uncanny valley so far? Like, how do you make sure that like you're capturing the stars in the right way and making sure they're animated in the right way so it doesn't look all creepy?
Capturing
literally creepy.
The visuals is probably the easiest challenge. Just the nature of photogrammetry, it produces such a realistic photoreal result to begin with, so you have such a good base to work with. The problem, is definitely on the animation side and making convincing, believable interactions and movements happen. Your brain is so deep-rooted in noticing like all the little subtle nuances that a human makes.
Especially the eyes is like
absolutely,
a big
eyes,
problem.
window to the soul. Like there's no getting around it. So we have custom scripts and code written to direct eye movement believably. So all that stuff is procedurally driven. But we invested in a Vicon motion capture system, so we can do very precise, high-fidelity motion capture in-house now. Which is just another part of the puzzle. It's all these little things that start stacking up and layering on top of each other that sort of help you bridge that uncanny valley and sort of get across it. We're not saying we're anywhere near across it yet. It's going to be an ongoing work in progress, but we're just definitely making some strides ahead.
In terms of audio and sound, how are you bridging that valley? Like in terms of immersion, you really need that like realistic, high quality sounds.
Yeah, well, thankfully, 3D positional audio is kind of come to the forefront as well alongside VR, and we've recorded dialogue for all the stars we've shot, like literally hundreds of lines of dialogue. So everything from actual phrases to moans and whispers. So we're going to use that in conjunction with the animation to procedurally kind of drive the experience. So as the avatar blends from one animation to the other, it'll also blend its its vocal performance. And in 3D or with the 3D positional audio, the fact that she'll be able to lean in and whisper in your ear or something like that, that's it's pretty powerful. So we actually think the audio is a huge component. That's why we took the time to record so much dialogue and so many sounds.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's just the same with the game industry. You have like triple to 4 times the amount of actual writing than like a movie because there's so many different outcomes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wonder who wrote those scripts? Like how awkward was it? Was it just like, nah, we'll just like bang it out in like an hour? A little bit of here and there. Like what was that like? Did you hire like a
How
writer?
did you know how the scene or the script was going to go?
You guys had to must
beginning
have
to end.
do your research, like for sure. For sure.
No research was done. No, our other business partner took the reins on that. He's from a film background and specifically like directing and producing films, like not adult films by any means, his own short films. Nice. But he's really good at working with talent and just getting a believable performance and evoking like a whole bunch of response out of people because we're not from that world. We're like hunched over a computer every day. So he definitely took the reins on that.
Because I'm just like picturing like what that would be like just recording. It's still like it's just a sound booth regularly, right? But you have to get them like into character. Like
we're also dealing with like the top tier talent in the industry. We didn't opt for anything less than the best out there. So these people are, believe it or not, like professionals. They come to work and they put on a performance for you, and that's their job.
They take it seriously. Like this is what they
do. It is serious. Yeah.
How is it like? First of all, how did you guys get them? Like, was it just like, here we're doing this new thing? Here's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, you
like,
have some big names.
Yeah, you have some huge names. Like you're right. You didn't go for low tier. You guys went straight to the top, and that's the right way to do it.
I guess you just picked Riley Reid, who you mentioned. Like, how did you contact? Like, how did that even come about?
I think we realized that in order to make this thing like as big as it can be, we're a small company. Starting out, we need people that have kind of like established a brand and an identity, and we know it's a really cool idea and we know people will be really into it, but having them on board to help us get the word out is like super important. And our other partner reached out to some agents and it took some convincing. These people generally shoot kind of like in LA and surrounding areas, so coming up to Toronto for like a 3D scan VR shoot, they didn't really know what to make of it at first, but he did a really good job of like forging that relationship and explaining what we're doing and why it's going to be the future and everything else. And then they came around and they're like, you know what, we're actually really excited to do this. And once they were excited and on board, it kind of establishes credibility too. Once you've shot with one, there's word of mouth that, okay, these guys are like legit, they're cool.
Kind of like a domino effect. Like
yeah,
once you establish
that
one connection, then you could like branch out to the others.
Totally. And that's exactly what it was. We kind of like, met some key people in the industry, agent-wise, and just opened up our access to more people.
That's amazing.
More stars, yeah.
And along that vein, we've just managed to secure exclusivity contracts with a number of the stars. They're not all finalized at the moment, but we've definitely locked down the majority at this point. We're taking an approach where we're not trying to just purely profit off of our stars' performance. We want to pay it forward in a sense. So we've established this model, this compensation model with all of our stars. We're calling it royalty for loyalty. So essentially, we're allowing our stars to make a percentage of the sales of their avatars. And in turn, we're requesting exclusivity with Holodexxx for the next short-term to distant future. And, it serves two purposes. We've sort of concreted or solidified, I should say, our talent pool, and also we're allowing our stars to earn back some of the money that they may not actually see if they were to go through the traditional kind of route. And it helps us in a sense that they're now willing to promote our brand and our product because they're seeing direct sales and money being generated. As the more they promote, the more they'll get back out of it. So we're hoping this is sort of like maybe a model that other people will adopt in the future and make the industry a little less exploitive overall.
Totally. I think that's really good, like kind of changing up the industry because like it's kind of evolving now. You can choose the new business plans and like you can actually change the whole industry by doing that, which is unbelievable. It's really cool. Like it's a really good point of like history to be able to do that as the technology shifts, right?
Yeah, I hope so. It's unproven ground, so we'll see how things pan out. But, we'd like to do this the proper way and put our best foot forward.
Philosophically too, right? Because I'm sure you guys have to do some like research into the industry and like the business models, and like some of it is corrupted and a little crazy. So why not try to do some good in it? Like while you're doing it, like you're saying, not just try to profit off of it because that's how things go south, right?
Yeah, and it's the beauty of also leveraging VR technology as well, because it's such a unique new thing for people to try. It's new for the stars, it's new for our users, it's new for the developers, and it is essentially a reset on the entire industry. And if we can do it right and we can lead out in a positive way, I think others will follow, I hope. But yeah, we can discuss too about like the actual benefits it offers people to experiment in a safe environment and sort of
From a user standpoint. Be
who they want to be, experience the sort of sexual interaction and encounters they want.
But it's still private.
Yeah.
Because as weird as it might sound, they don't even technically have to be like human. Like it could be like, people like in that elf stuff, like World of Warcraft, right? They love that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
because it's just like their fantasies. It might not be human. Like as weird as that sounds to us, other people just might not want to.
They'll take it to wherever they want.
Yeah, exactly. So can people like upload their own? Because I'm assuming you guys have a platform that will load these avatars into almost like a sex museum. I don't want to say sex dungeon. Like welcome to the dungeon.
Like if other people have high fidelity scans and models and stuff, can they add it to your library of people, I guess? Or
it's on the roadmap.
Yeah, we've had this request a few times now to like upload your own content or create your own people or your own avatars. And I mean, absolutely, it's going to be something we can do in the future. I think for right now, we're going to launch with like the actual stars themselves. But there's no reason we couldn't do that in the future. And like you said, people have all types of different desires and fetishes and everything else that, we should be able to support, and we will. Yeah,
because I noticed even on your website, you are scanning like transgendered people. So it's like male, female, and transgender. Like what made you guys want to do that and like open up with that? Because like that's not really open in the industry as it stands today, right?
Yeah, but it should be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like what made you guys want to do that? Like was it just like from the philosophical standpoint, or?
We're both from Toronto. We're young people, it's a multicultural city. We're all very like liberal here and open-minded, and I think a lot of the world isn't, and I don't agree with that. I think people should be allowed to express themselves and be who they want to be and get the most out of their sexual side. And this is a means to offer that to people and let them decide how they want to consume and interact and be a part of it.
Yeah. Again, especially it being a new medium, I mean, let's start out with the best foot forward and like let people have these options. There's no reason to limit it to just straight experiences,
you can just build on that.
It
doesn't have to be
and going to the experiences, how are you going to tailor the avatars to each environment? Is it going to be like, are they going to have like interactions with their environment? Like what if they're like, I want to be on the moon, or like something like really random like that? Is that going to be a different experience of like, oh, you're on Earth? Like how do you?
Yeah, we've been talking about the scenarios quite a bit. We've had requests for like the the plane experience, like the flight attendant or
the Mile High Club.
Yeah, things like that, and
unlock achievements.
I mean,
oh my,
yeah, we joke, but like I think that'll be a component. That's the one thing or one of many things we can offer that's not presently available with porn, right? Things that are more akin to a game, but it's going to help make a compelling experience.
Yeah, we're trying to come at it with a lighthearted approach. Yeah. Similar to like you mentioned Pornhub earlier, they laugh about it. It's funny, like they always have humorous stuff on their sites and their advertisements. And it's that same approach that just like let's get it out of
Cornhub that one day. Yeah, it's hilarious.
They're like, let's just get it out of the dark. Like, it's 20.
I think what you guys are doing is awesome because like literally getting more things out of the dark, like using transgendered people, like exploring everything, not just the straight experiences.
Yeah, we were actually at the AVN conference this year, and we had like the transsexual booth right behind us. So we spent like 4 days in close proximity to them, and they came around and tried the demo, and we're like, if you guys want to be involved, and they're like, yeah, of course, let's let's set up a time. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, we're absolutely on board, and they were super popular, like really cool. Like they had tons of fans. It's not like that phenomenon doesn't exist. Like they're very popular. It's just for some reason people don't feel comfortable talking about it.
Yeah, there's like stigma and like stereotypes all around that stuff. And it's like it's better to keep it in the open light and let people make their like own decisions.
Put it forefront. I guess the other thing is like I'm thinking of like multiplayer kind of thing. Like literally because you're saying like you're in this environment, people, but like there could also be another person like using that avatar on the other side. So it means like couples on opposite ends of the world could just come together and like make that as
Is
like
that a pun?
Oh, okay. I didn't even mean to. There you go. No pun intended there, I swear to God. But literally, there might be some delay. So like, I don't know. It depends on their internet connection.
Exactly. I'm sure like the technology is going to catch up very quickly. We're at day zero for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Teledildonics is like its own field of research and study, and that's going to that technology is just going to rise in tandem with everything else that's going on in technology right now. But yeah, like that's the liberating side of this. You could have a long distance relationship, or one sort of interesting thought that we've discovered along this pursuit was, maybe what you as a young male are attracted to is like a hot, smoking hot female. But intellectually, you may not be as compatible with that sort of, I hate to use the term bimbo, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe you have more of a strong intellectual connection with, an older man or something on the other side of the world who's experienced and lived a long, fulfilling life. In VR, you could pair those two together. You could actually have a partner who thinks the way you do and relates to you and can engage in stimulating conversation with you, and you can get more of a fulfilling relationship out of that. But still, your primordial brain is still attracted to the young bimbo-esque woman.
Yeah.
So you can kind of fuse those two together potentially.
Put the skin, there's like a new skin on it.
Yeah, and share in a fulfilling relationship with someone that you never thought possible or would have ever attempted outside of VR.
Totally. But then there's also like the opposite side of that, which like we have to bring that up, where like you think you're talking to a woman, especially on the internet. Even now it happens, but like
It's a dude.
and you didn't want that. Like, okay, this is weird. But again, like if you don't know, then
Yeah.
And what about
ignorance
age policies
bliss, right?
and stuff like that? Like,
18
where's it going
plus
to
still?
start? Like,
18 plus, like 18.
Oh, for this?
plus?
Oh, 18 plus for sure. Yeah.
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 So keep it at the 18. Like that's a good. Like what made you guys decide to keep the 18?
You didn't want
rather
to
than,
go
like-
21.
The law.
That's the law. So like, that's as low as possible.
I'm
18 is
Pretty sure, it's the law. So we're obviously
No,
trying
I mean
to
you
push.
could have like raised.
No,
it.
I'm saying like you didn't want to do like 21. Like
Yeah.
something.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we're not gonna get 12 and plus.
No,
No,
it's-
we're talking more like the higher end.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we just started with like a
Whatever
baseline
the
of
law
what's
Yeah. Build
generally
what's there.
acceptable
Yeah.
today. We're going to push the boundaries in every sense, but operate obviously within the guidelines and rules that are set out by law.
And have any of these stars have been like concerned about like what people might be doing with their avatars? I think you guys did the Vice documentary, right?
Yeah.
So I remember watching that, and they're saying how like what if there's like virtual rape that occurs, like you're giving basically people free reign on their bodies. But I remember like listening that a lot of the stars were like, well, like it's my body, but it's my virtual body. It's not technically me, so people can do whatever they want with it. Is that how they've been generally like reacting?
That was pretty much like the unanimous response from all of them, actually. It's like they're already such open people, especially like they're pretty much sexually liberated. And, the fact that someone can kind of interact with them in any way, like they were very comfortable with. And we didn't really have any restrictions in terms of like what they were consenting to do or not, because like you said, it's virtual them. That being said, it's still on us to make sure that, we respect certainly the law, but certainly the fact that they are people as well. So they're not going to be put into, violent, compromising situations. We can cater to some quirks and fetishes, but obviously it's still has to be, ultimately respectful to them at the end of the day.
Because if you guys are designing the experiences, it's technically up to you guys. So it's not completely open. People can just
Exactly.
take their avatar and put it in any situation. You guys like script those experiences.
Yep, we
Yep.
record the animations
Yeah.
that the star plays out. We, program it, implement it.
Yeah, so it's not going to be like that the movie Gamer.
People will, follow in our footsteps, and people will use the technology for all sorts of things, good and evil. It happens in every scenario with a new technology. But like we said earlier, our intention is to lead out on the best possible foot and showcase it in the most positive light, and sort of set the benchmark for other people's to follow. We can't control what's going to be done after that, but we'll do our utmost to make sure that we're portraying it the best way possible.
Yeah, you guys can just have your good name and do what you can do, like the best you guys can possibly do.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think the bigger benefit to everything that we're working on right now is not wholly in adult. It's the big picture is really solving how to create convincing, believable avatars for VR and for AR and all these new mediums. And adult content just happens to be low-hanging fruit early on. It's something that's going to make a lot of money. It's that old saying that like the porn industry pushes technology forward. I think this is again showcasing that sentiment once again, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely inevitable. It's maybe not this year, maybe it's not next year, but
No.
it's soon and it's definitely coming. And
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can even stop it at this point.
No,
so.
you can't. There's too much money, too many people. Everyone's
Yeah.
excited about it. You
Absolutely.
know? But are you guys the ones that usually do the capturing and like set up all the technology?
Oh yeah, we do it all ourselves, all very hands-on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All very hands.
Very.
Another pun.
Stressing.
Yeah. No, so many puns. It's just like,
It's nonstop.
yeah,
It's a
just
full
can't
day.
escape.
It's a full day at the end of
Yeah.
the day. We
Yeah.
when we shoot a star, it takes 8 to 10 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, we capture a lot of data in that day, and then it seems like a glamorous like line of work to be in, but it's really not.
Just like being in the studio for like 14 hours. Like, okay, can we go yet?
yeah, and they're only in for a day, and then we have
Yeah.
like weeks worth of data to process, and that's the reality of it. It's
Yeah.
not.
So it's not just capturing them once and then using that data. Like, you have to get them in all the different positions. Is that the best way to do it?
Yeah, we capture our stars in a T pose initially. It's just arms outstretched. It's a typical animation pose, and it allows us to rig the final character really easily. We can see all the joints and nothing's occluded. But yeah, we actually do a number of dynamic scan poses after that, which sort of capture how the skin is moving and tissue and muscle is folding and all that. And then we can blend that into the final model later on. We capture about 40 individual high-res facial scans, each one being a different expression on the face. And then, again, we work to combine all those different facial expressions into one parameterized model that we can then drive in all sorts of different ways. We record, as Craig said, hours and hours of audio, and as well at the same time we're recording video as well, and we use the video to drive the facial animation that takes place later on.
Yep.
Beyond that, motion capture, it never ends.
I mean, in the end, we hope to have some of the most advanced and convincing characters. I mean,
Like
it's
people, like
people-
bodies. Which I think from an art perspective, that's amazing because like people have always been trying to recapture like the naked human body ever since art, like just like on stone caves and then like Da Vinci. Like it's just been like everything. Now it's just like you're using more technology to make it more real, more like human-like. It's just on paper with pencil.
Yeah, and it's ironic that to actually develop a 3D naked person is a lot harder than like a traditional game character, because a lot of them wear like clothing that kind of bunches up near joints or like armor pieces or something to cover up imperfections, and we have like none of that benefit. It's
You can't hide
it's all
anything,
visible.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work to make sure it's like finely tuned and convincing, and it looks as real as possible, especially in line with the faces, capturing 40 different facial expressions and creating a facial rig that can hit most of the extremes that the actor or actress's face can hit. It's a lot of work, but we've made some good progress, and like seeing the results finally like in VR, and like when she's blinking and smiling and little wrinkles and things fade in, it's awesome. Like it's so worth it at the end. It's just a lot of work to get there.
Viewing it with the Vive is probably the best experience so far. Not knocking Oculus by any means, but just the ability to stand up and walk around a lifelike avatar who's standing at eye level with you and is responding to your gaze. It's pretty powerful. You feel absolutely convinced that you're sitting there or standing there with another human being who's looking right back at you, and you feel as if you were just to reach out, you'd be able to touch them, but they're not there.
It's like a ghost,
Yeah.
It's great. Very realistic ghost.
Yeah.
And again, like for video games, that's amazing. Like that's definitely where things have to be heading. Like keeping it way more realistic, especially with VR now. Like we're not going to be playing games on like regular screens. Like you'd rather be playing them in VR. Just it's way more compelling. You want to be inside the game. Right?
I can't go back.
No? So there's no going back, eh?
Oh, I love VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no going back. I mean, traditional games, traditional film will be around for a long time, but I'd see it being replaced over time.
Yeah, just like paintings aren't replaced, but people would rather watch a movie, right?
Yep.
It's just more engaging, it's more entertaining, and definitely is.
And I honestly think that, as Palmer says, guys from the games industry are going to be or have the most success in VR. We have a couple friends that are venturing into 360 video for VR very heavily, like creating startup studios around it, and they're doing phenomenal work. But even they tell us they're like, the most convincing stuff and the most compelling stuff that we've experienced is inside game worlds, the stuff that you guys are building.
Interactive more things rather than just being a passive observer. You want to be in that world, walking around, picking things up, talking to people.
Yep.
Yeah, and the interaction is huge, even if it isn't just like on a somewhat limited basis at first. Like the fact that you can make those choices, it changes everything. It's a whole new world, you know.
I think it's a whole new genre that might emerge out of this avatar technology, just having relationships and experiences and interactions with people.
And just getting back to the game idea, I think in terms of like a spy game where you have like espionage and stuff like that, I think VR would be way more intimate and like perfect. Like when you're actually like setting up like a poison or...
Yeah, we've actually noticed that like even little small like physical tasks, like, well, especially with the Vive when you have actual hand controllers in VR that are tracked. Opening up a panel and like unscrewing a bolt or like welding something. Yeah.
Unhooking a bra.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Have you guys figured that out? Have you guys done the animation for that? Did that work?
We've recorded the animation. We're
Gonna try
talking
it.
about how to make it happen. Yeah.
That'd be so cool. That's gonna be a
Struggle
breakthrough.
meter?
That's gonna be a full breakthrough. Just like
Yeah.
snip with
Yeah.
the Vive controller. That's
It's
awesome.
going to be a struggle.
There's a
It'll be
program called
the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool that that's just like one tiny aspect of what you guys are doing. That's not even the porn isn't even the core of what you guys are doing. It seems like it's really the capturing, because like if a bigger company comes to you guys, that's another way to fund anything you want to do, because you guys are the guys that do it.
Exactly.
You guys are here in Toronto. A movie wants to do this again, like you said. Ubisoft comes. To, you guys are the guys to come and scan. How easy is it for other people to actually set up, or is it something that like you guys got it and it's just like no one else can really do it?
There are a lot of barriers to entry, I believe, though. One being the just upfront cost of the entire setup. It's prohibitively expensive.
Yeah.
But people are doing it. There's scanning studios popping up all over the place to do these little sort of 3D me characters where you can print them out and put them on top of like a wedding cake or something. But what the limiting factor there that we feel is like being able to take that 3D scan and, as I was saying earlier, translate it into something that's efficient and will run well on a mobile device or a PlayStation or something like that. I think you'll start seeing in the next wave of like mobile phones and iPads and tablet devices the ability to start scanning with these devices. They already have like early prototypes. Google's Project Tango can do that. The results are mixed early on, but that stuff's just going to get better and better. What we're targeting is like the Formula One high performance 3D scans where we can see your pores and your cuticles and all that like intricate stuff. But they'll be much more affordable, cheaper,
like a mobile
and faster
solution.
Solutions to getting yourself into VR convincingly. I've seen a couple examples that make me believe that this isn't far off now. So yeah, I think everyone will have a visual representation of themselves in some limited capacity, or they could
whether they're doing
us.
it with porn or just
So
regular
as you guys
day-to-day
are
games.
Clothing
are-
optional.
If you guys create any productions and stuff like that, is it just going to be through your website, or is it going to be kind of like an app store kind of thing with the VR?
Yeah, so for Holodexxx is interesting because obviously it's not supported on Steam or Oculus Home or anywhere.
PlayStation.
Definitely not
Yeah,
PlayStation.
definitely not
Yeah.
PlayStation.
So we are kind of tasked with distribution, like as a main focus, and initially it will be through our website. We're talking to some partners as well to possibly distribute through their websites too. But it's not an easy thing to crack, right? Steam is so popular for a reason. It's really easy to use. It's well managed and maintained. So yeah, for us, it's going to be through our website to begin with. But who knows? You mentioned Pornhub's getting into this stuff with 360 video. They've kind of talked about the future and being on board with VR as well. So there could be like a marketplace that evolves out of that as well. And I mean, they have access to like 1 billion people now. So
Oh my God.
Whoever makes like a really good marketplace for adult content for VR in the next year or so is going to do really well, I think.
Yeah.
That's why I think you guys should honestly just make your own marketplace, even if it's an executable that people download. Because like you said, you want to put a reset on the industry. You don't want to just give it right back to Pornhub, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, very good.
strategically you could, but I mean, like,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
We're exploring all sorts of options right now. We're likely to start out with is like a package that you download with an executable file, but growing beyond that, we really want to turn Holodexxx into a platform where stars potentially could go and come to us and get scanned and have their own sort of category on the Holodexxx platform, right? And now they're no longer working for an agent. They're working for themselves. They're promoting their avatar's sale on our platform and seeing direct benefit from that. So it's sort of a long-term goal. We're not quite there yet, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are you guys thinking pricing-wise per avatar? Will it like vary? Because like obviously there are different tiers, right? But I mean, like that again, it's more philosophical. Like, how do you change the pricing on this
or would it be
person
like
for this
subscription
person?
based? Like you just have access to all that.
No, but subscription wouldn't give them the royalties, like you said. I wouldn't think so. It could be based on download, but
yeah, we're kind of weighing all the options. Still, we have an idea in our heads. We're not quite ready to announce it publicly yet, but both of those are definite options, and there's ways we can combine like subscription and like pay per download. In terms of pricing, it's a funny thing to analyze, like what's someone's value and can we put them on sale for Christmas? Or,
it's weird, right?
Is that offensive?
Yeah, because it's like a body, but it's not really a person.
And is there going to be like a tips option or like a donate option if you really liked a certain avatar in that person? Like,
that's actually a good idea. We didn't think about
strip club model.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Was that another
service industry?
It's funny because you can do all these different models, like different kind of business models with this, whatever way you want to take it. Like, it's really interesting.
We can say is the avatar will be sort of the flagship premium product, but there's going to be all sorts of opportunity beyond that for DLC content. Maybe you just want to purchase 3 stars, but then you want 30 different hairstyles or 10 different outfits, and now you can sort of mix and match them. It'll be a major component.
Also, how do the avatars interact with each other? So let's say you wanted more than one avatar in a certain scenario or whatever. Like, how would they interact with each other? Is it
threesome
more
scenarios?
Like something like that?
Yeah. I'll just beat around the bush. I'll just go right to the point.
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Yeah. It's,
so many goddamn.
Yeah. We've been kind of calling it like the voyeur mode, and it's on the roadmap. We probably won't do it right away initially. Yeah, it's quite a bit of work to get just one avatar, like, looking awesome, performing super well, and interacting with the player. So we're going to tackle that first, but it's definitely on the roadmap. I mean, it makes total sense. You'd want to like create your own little scene, and maybe you're the director, maybe you're not even involved. You're just kind of like setting up the action and letting it play out, right? So yeah, we're very aware. It's just
so true. You don't even have to be involved. I didn't even think of that. Yeah,
we've
could be the director mode. Yeah,
there's been a number of people that have just wanted to kind of watch or like be close to it as it happens, or like position people, tweak it how they like, set up the scene, and then let it do its thing.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything you guys want to plug before we end off?
Yeah, definitely. We've been kind of quiet on the social media front lately, but we'll just tell everyone what we're up to. As I mentioned earlier, we're working heavily day to day on this Riley Reid experience, which we're aiming to have out in the next couple months. We may coincide this with an Indiegogo campaign just to start driving some funds in and really scale up. It will be supporting the V-Stroker Fleshlight peripheral, and will be cross-platform. Oculus, Vive, and traditional PC devices will be supported. So we'll have an update out as soon as we can. Hopefully not too much longer. But yeah, you can look out for that quite soon.
Cool.
All right, fantastic.
Awesome. I think that's it. Thanks so much for coming on Think Tank, guys.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Awesome.
If you enjoyed this talk and want to check out more, go to our website at thinktankcast.com and subscribe with your email so we can send you all of the latest episodes, news, and updates right to your inbox.
Also, on our website, there will be show notes for this episode, some links to the things that we talked about, and more detailed information on our guests. If you want to see the video of this episode, it'll be on our YouTube channel, which is also linked on our website.
And if you want to keep in touch, we're on social media. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're at ThinkTankCast on pretty much everything, so you can find us on the web. And all of these details, again, will be linked to our website at thinktankcast.com. Hope to hear from you guys soon.
Amplified pattern recognition.
Why does the universe exist? We're about 5 Einsteins away from being answered.